The title of this podcast is Let Life Teach You. This is inspired by my friend, Pat Marcanio. It's so good. And a lot of people have applied exactly that kind of adage or bit of wisdom toward me over the years. I was unaware of it. So let me tell you what it means. Our friend Pat has kids. They're adult kids now, but when I met him, they were, still under his roof. And at different stages, the kids thought they knew better than Pat. And so he would guide them. And his oldest son at one point had this idea that he was going to go out and buy a car. He wanted to get the car at that time that most people thought was a cool vehicle to own. The problem is that it wasn't very reliable. And his son had a part-time job as a high school student. And so if that car had any kind of trouble, he would not have the resources to get it repaired. And so Pat counseled him about getting another car that may not look as cool as that one, but that would be reliable. But his son would have none of it. And Pat would say to me, Keith, I tried. I'm going to have to let life teach him. And so his son went on and bought the car. And at the same time, he didn't want to abide by Pat's rules of coming home at a certain time in curfew. Now that he was 17, 18 years old at this time, still living at home. And so he said, I'm going to get my own place. Pat cautioned against that. He said, the rent here at home is only $300 a month. You don't make much money, and the rules are not as restrictive as you think they are. His son said, nope, I'm going to move in with two other guys. So there will be three of us in an apartment, and we're going to move, about 45 minutes from here. Pat said, are you sure about that? You don't want to get in a situation with this where you're trying to establish your credit or be dependent about guys who you really haven't had experiences related to finances with so far in your life. He said, nope, I know these guys. This is what I'm doing. And I know it will be, 45 minutes away from here, as well as away from my job, which is right around the corner now. So Pat said, okay, you would rather pay $1,000 a month over 300 and then potentially be on the hook in case your roommates can't come through with their fair share of the rent, and you're going to move further away from your job. Okay, I'm about to let life teach you. So during that summer, guess what happened? The car broke down, and the roommates got into rifts, mostly around money, and Pat's son, was on the hook for the rent. And so instead of lecturing him, he didn't say anything. He just said, this is one of those things where life had to teach you. And it was. So one day the son called me after he'd spent all his money repairing the car. And this time the car had broken down again. And he called me and said, hey, Keith, can you give me a ride to work? This is where I live now. And I said, let me talk to your father first to make sure that, this is a good idea. He said, no, you don't have to call my dad. I was like, no, I need to call your dad. So I called his dad, and his dad said, Keith, don't pick him up. He needs to get the bus. So I called him and I said, hey, listen, your dad wants you to take the bus. He's like, well, the transportation system out here is not the best. I said, oh, I know. And I'm thinking that should have been taken consideration before you bought that vehicle. But his mind was made up. He didn't want to be bothered with the facts. And so he explained to me that what would have been a 5-minute, drive from his old house with his dad was now a 45-minute drive with a, functioning car, and a 2-hour bus ride with transfers to get to his work. And this was in the heart of summer in Arizona, where we're looking at 115-degree temperatures waiting at a bus stop. And so he learned that lesson because he had to take the bus until he earned enough money to get the car repaired. And so that's a great example of letting life teach you. And I was reflecting on my life before the practice. There were a lot of people that tried to pull my coattails to a better way of living and doing things. And many of them were wise choices that I could have made, but I didn't. I took the other path. And that path led to a lot of suffering and a lot of hard lessons learned. And they recognized something that I didn't, that I wouldn't listen. I wouldn't take the help or the guidance. And so they just let it go and they let life teach me. Now, this shows up in the form of different things for other people. One may be getting your health in order regarding nutrition, that you've been given advice, and there's so much advice out there about healthy eating. But you're like, nope, you're going to indulge. You're going to do it your way until you go about it. And then down the road, some kind of health event arises, whether it's being put on medication or whether it's needing to be treated on a continued basis. But that's an example of life having to teach you. And the same thing goes with worry and anxiousness and obsessive thinking and all those things that you can literally take the time to work on yourself every day. And that will at least help, if not cure you of that. There may be cases to where there's medical intervention that's needed. But in a lot of cases, there's things that you can do that I've learned that you can work on yourself so that life doesn't have to teach you. I've seen people that have been at work and they've been in great work situations with great companies, but because they can't handle the challenges that come with working around other people, and work can be a spiritual experience to where you learn and grow and you become your best self because it's going to show you the areas that need work. But there are some people that aren't aware of this, or even after being told that they have an opportunity to grow in certain areas, choose not to. And they will go out and quit that job and go somewhere else. And it won't be long until they experience the same kind of difficulties there. They think it's a job. It's not the job. It's you. And this is one of those cases where life has to teach you. And so I encourage everyone out there, that have children, that have significant others who won't listen, to kind guidance along the way about a different way to do it. And maybe even talking directly to you that there's a different way, an easier path. It may still require work, but it's an easier path. Or if not, you can go the other way and life will teach you. And here's one thing that's sure that is true about life teaching you. It is indiscriminate. It is indifferent about how you feel about it, but it will nonetheless give you that lesson. So I think I'm pretty much over life needing to teach me a whole lot. Everybody that I interact with from 5 years old to 85 years old, I want to be a student and learn from you. You don't have to look a certain way. You don't have to be from the same town, the same ethnicity, or any of that. I am here to learn so that I can make this life experience a lot smoother and with less suffering. I just want peace and goodness and experience a lot of joy. And so please teach me. I'd rather you do it than life.